Okay, so welcome to the Jerry Graves channel, the place where we talk about mastering your flow and how to deal with narcissists, psychopaths, and anybody who steps in your way. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. Okay, so narcissists never really are thinking about the same thing that you are when you guys are engaging in intercourse. Like, they get off to power. They don't just get off to just, you know, the same thing. Like, yeah, they also are overly focused on body parts. You know, when you are turned on by a person, right? You're turned on generally by that whole being, their whole everything about them, the story, the connection that you have, all of that goes into the equation. But really, a narc is like, they just like your certain body part. Like, oh, those big breasts. You know, her the girl's nice butt. Things like that. And then they're also like really turned on by the power that they have over you. You know, it's like, that's what it's about. It's like they're turned on by the power of it all. So certain things that they do, like they have to put you in some type of situation where they're empowering themselves during sex and disempowering you. And so they're always going to do something that's discourteous, that's that bothers you, like that kind of pisses you off, that you don't want them to do. It's basically, they want to cross your boundaries. It's like they got to do something or participate in something that their victim doesn't want to do, and that makes them feel powerful. So I met a dude in the military, right? And I was just looking to. Yeah, he seemed like a cool guy. I met him through some other person that I knew, and he seemed cool. He seemed like somebody I could hang out with, and I wanted somebody to hang out with when we hit the ports and everything like that. So I gave him a chance or whatever, and so we started eating together. You know, during lunchtime. At first, I was eating with the person that I always ate with, and then now he was the one coming to get me to go eat. So it was what it was. I shouldn't have let him step in. Like, I was more friends with the female that I had originally met, right? So anyway, eventually me and him, like, the first time that he comes and he knocks on my door to come get me, he's like, he brings up anal. He's like, do you, I don't know how he said, how he brought this up, but he was basically like, asked if I like to fuck women in the ass. And I'm thinking, that's just an awkward conversation for this guy to be talking. We barely know each other. This is the first time we've ever even had a real conversation, and he's talking about fucking women in the ass, like anal. And he's like, yo man, you gotta fuck them in the ass. um it's about power. Like, it's about power. And like, me and my girlfriend, we have arguments, like real arguments about this. Like, she'd be like, no, I don't want to do it today. I'm like, we're doing it today. Today we're doing it today. She's like, no, no, no. I'm like, yeah, we're doing it today. Like, he was kind of funny like that, but it was kind of disturbing. But anyway, every girl that he had a chance with, he'd always be bringing that up. Like, even the first girl that introduced us, he's like, I'm gonna have you I'm gonna have you cook soup for us, right? and it was like they were from a different country, and so it was like it was this particular type of soup. And then she's like, okay. And then he's like, after that, I'm gonna fuck you in the ass. And he just looks at her, right? I'm gonna fuck you in the ass. And she's just like, what? Like, she just looks at him in a trance type of state. And he's like, yeah, and you're gonna like it. And all this. Like, he was weird like that. He was definitely a narcissist, right? And it was like, we had far too many conversations about fucking women in the ass. And yeah, he would tell me like how he would tell another girl like, and he was bold about it. Like he would say it. He'd bring it up to the girl, and then she'd laugh, and he'd be like, "Don't laugh. I'll do it to you too." You know, he was saying that he told this other female about him and his girlfriend arguing about anal sex, and he was like, "Don't laugh though. I'll do it to you too." So fast forward to we pulled into Bahrain, and him and his girl was having problems, so he flew her out, and she actually came. Like, she came all the way to Bahrain, and he was still like on his weird, bullshit where he's, starting arguments and with her and shit, and like it was definitely like their relationship was very strained, and he was trying to make sure she stayed in check, like he had her in check. And so eventually, while we're at dinner, she just brings it up out of the blue, like, because she didn't know I even knew this, but she was like, he likes anal and I don't. And I was just like, what does she want me to do with this information? You know what I'm saying? And it happened out of the blue, and I didn't know what to say. I was just like, what would I say? I said, how come? Or I don't know. I don't know what I said to that. But I just was like, okay. And then he was just like, hey, I don't like talking about my sex life. But it was like this huge thing where, I mean, that's how they are, dude. They love degenerate anti-sex. They love having power. And what else? I seen this one movie that was really good. I think it's called Nightcrawler. And it's about this guy. He goes around and he gets footage for news companies when there's like an accident, a car accident, or something that happens in town. He's like usually the first person there. He listens to the police scanners, and he's out and about and just looking for anything so he can get the footage. And so he does that, and he ends up selling it to this one news company. And then they started being like, oh well, we want you to only give it exclusively to us, or something like that. So then he started having a relationship with that company, and a female ran that section, right? So then randomly, all right, so she's like 10 years older than him. So it was just out of the blue that he was like trying to have like a relationship with her, like a sexual relationship. And she brings it up in the movie like, I'm 10 years older than you, like, why? But he was like, no, like, he wanted to have her, so he did. And the most interesting part of this movie was like near the end. They just threw this scene in where he's just like, hey, I want you to, like, they were having an argument about whether he was going to get a certain give her certain footage or something like that was really valuable that she needed. And then he brings it up like, well, you didn't do everything that I wanted you to do in bed. It was like, it came out of the blue, bro. And it was like he was basically extorting this woman, not extorting her, but coercing her with his footage for sex. And then it got to the point where he's like, she needs to do everything he wants her to do. And he's like, if you want this footage, I mean it. Everything I want you to do. You do everything I want you to do in bed. And which was disturbing to me, right? So it's very disturbing. So anyway, and later on, like a bunch of stuff happens, and then he comes out on top. He ends up having like a team of 4 or 5 different people, his own van, and basically like a good production setup. And he was like in charge of the I guess the whole part of that for that news station, the gathering the clips and the media part of it, I guess. Although it's all media, right? So he moved up and he was making good money, and even the woman that he was coercing and basically pushing her around was like, everybody's talking about him like, wow, he's the man, like. And then she's like, you got to give it to him, he really knows what he's doing, even though. And that was just like, that was also awkward because it's like, she's still being extorted for sex. She just meets this guy. You know what's crazy is that's how it happens in real life, because also movies are kind of like, there's always a grain of truth. Like for a director or somebody or a writer to come up with that information or that scene, it has to be inspired by something. So most stories, there's a grain of truth. So somebody, that happened to somebody, bro. So my point is that that's how narcissists are. They want to exercise power. That's what turns them on. They don't care about the actual relationship. They want power. And that's the reason why you can't really get along with these people, folks. I've been telling you that for a long time,